Hi, welcome to Paper 2, Question 4, the comparison question about Alan Turing. The starter activity is to find any language techniques in Passage A on Alan Turing and write them on the accompanying sheet in the right-hand column. The lesson objectives are that all learners will revise what's needed to answer Paper 2, Question 4, the comparison question, read 2 texts on Alan Turing, identify the events and language techniques in the texts, and write an answer for Paper 2, Question 4, question on attitudes to Alan Turing. If you wish to see the ICONS 2019 competition speech by Chris Packham about Alan Turing, please Google Chris Packham Alan Turing and it will come up. I'll read it to you now. Science is the art of understanding truth and beauty. But for Turing, mathematics alone encapsulated the search for that most honourable human grail, pure truth. And truthfully, he knew more than most. He defined the computer, he designed a computer, and faced with global catastrophe, he built a computer. To turn cipher into song and mystery into music. The Nazis' Enigma machines were no match for his cunning and wit, but all he got, for all of his toil and all of our trouble, was a poisoned apple. A genius, a saviour, but he was also autistic and gay. So we betrayed him and drove him to suicide. Shame, writ large. His death an unforgiving tattoo on humanity's conscience. Stop the video and see if you can match up the techniques with the text in terms of which techniques they are. There are 3 semantic fields of mystery, genius, and shame. But what of his legacy? Well, California is burning, the Arctic is melting, our species without any ambiguity is precipitating its own extinction. Do you honestly think that our current crop of politicians are going to save us? Are explorers, artists or rock stars going to save us? No. The scientists are the only hope for our future, and they are armed with Alan Turing's legacy. Stop the video to match up the techniques, again in green, with the text on the left. And there are 2 semantic fields of disaster and hope. I've got an idea. Get your phones out of your pockets and turn them on and hold them up. You know, just so they can sparkle. You know, in each of your hands you hold a little bit of Alan Turing. He's with us when we wake up, he's with us when we go to bed at night, and he's with us when we talk to our loved ones. He's beautiful, isn't he? Glistening in our darkest hour. You see, Alan Turing's legacy hasn't passed. It's not a relic of the 20th century. His gift to us is our future. Thank you. Stop the video to match up the techniques with the text. The semantic field in this paragraph is of a desirable gift. This is the second passage from the Bletchley Park website. Bletchley Park was where Alan Turing worked to decipher the code from the Germans' Enigma machine with his team. Alan Turing was born on the 23rd of June 1912 in London. He went to Sherborne School in 1926 where, in addition to the classics-orientated curriculum, he studied science in his own time. His untidy habits and shy, hesitant, high-pitched voice were to remain with him, as would his ability to think deeply, working from first principles. He seemed to some an antisocial loner, but with a sense of humour. In 1931 he went up to King's College, Cambridge, where he was much happier because of both the intellectual challenge and the tolerance of his homosexuality. Stop the video to match up the topics with the text. He became a Fellow of the college in 1935 and pursued his interest in mathematical logic. Later that year he moved to Princeton University in the USA, completing his PhD thesis in 1938. Then he returned to King's. Turing was recruited by the government Code and Cipher School in 1938 as they prepared for the possibility of war with Germany, and reported to Bletchley Park on the 4th of September 1939, the day after war was declared. He was assigned to the Enigma research section. Turing designed a machine for breaking Enigma, the bomb, which by the autumn of 1940 was being used to help break Enigma and ciphered messages. Stop the video to see the main facts about Alan Turing's work. By December 1939, Turing had worked out the way the Germans chose their naval Enigma message indicators. In 1946, Turing was made an Officer of the Order of the British Empire, or OBE, for his wartime service. In 1946 and 1947, he gave a series of lectures in London on computer design, including the first to mention computer intelligence, the foundation of what is now known as artificial intelligence. In October 1948, Turing joined the Computing Machine Laboratory at Manchester University. He worked on artificial intelligence, a theory of growth in biology, and modelling reactions. Turing was made a Fellow of the Royal Society in 1951. This is the highest honour a scientist can receive. Stop the video to see the main points of Turing's achievements and more about his work. In 1952, Turing was convicted of gross indecency and died by suicide of cyanide poisoning in June 1954 by eating a poisoned apple. In 2009, the UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown made an official public apology on behalf of the government for the way Turing was treated, a signed copy of which can be seen at Bletchley Park. In 2013, he was granted a posthumous royal pardon, which was later extended to all those convicted under long-repealed legislation outlawing homosexual acts. This legislation has become known as Turing's Law. Stop the video to read more about Turing's sexuality and maltreatment by the state and his death. His posthumous legal achievement is also covered here. This is the question. Question 4. Refer to source A and source B. Compare how the writers convey their attitudes to Alan Turing. 16 marks. Compare their attitudes. What are they? Compare the methods they use to convey their attitudes. And analyse the implications. Support your ideas with quotations from both texts. This is Mr. Bruff's view on Paper 2, Question 4. So the main jobs that you have to do are that students have to demonstrate an understanding of ideas and attitudes in both texts, comparing those ideas and attitudes. And students have to compare the methods used to show these attitudes. So Mr. Bruff says that you need to write what the attitude is, what methods are used to present the attitude, including a quotation, and analyse why those methods are used. What's the implication? How effective is it? Question 4 on this paper is really just a longer version of other questions. Using the petal structure, you just need to expand it out for the 16 marks from 3 paragraphs to 4. So the plan is actually quite easy. You need to find 2 views from each text, and you need to illustrate each view, so that's 4 paragraphs using the petal structure, and then you're done. So what is Chris Packham's general view of Alan Turing? What tone does he take, and what is his purpose? Is he persuasive? What issues does he specifically address? Packham's view is that Turing is a misunderstood genius and hero of our nation who was maltreated by the state and has made a permanent improvement to our life through technology. Packham uses emotive language and imagery to persuade us. So what is Bletchley Park's general view of Alan Turing? What tone does the text take, and what is its purpose? Is it persuasive? What issues does it specifically address? Bletchley Park tells of Turing's characteristics factually and informatively. It tells of his achievements dispassionately and leaves the reader to make up their own opinion about the value of Alan Turing as a person, based on facts. So what is one big difference between the texts? Well, one is emotive and persuasive, and the other is factual. Another quick reminder of the question structure. In order to help you plan your work, copy this planning grid and complete it in your book before writing. You could pick topics such as his work and his sexuality, or his achievements and his personality. So plan all your 4 paragraphs using the point, evidence, technique and analysis, or view, quote, technique and implications. And then you'll have everything ready and you just need to write it out in standard English. Don't forget signpost phrases. So these were the lesson objectives. Have you met them?